Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We get you informed fast. Today we're tackling a subject, well, it generates a lot of discussion online and off, doesn't it?
It really does.
Modern relationships, finding a partner, building a family. It feels pretty complicated for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
So our focus is this provocative new ebook. It's called The Vanishing Good Woman, Why It's So Hard to Find a Wife and Mother in the Modern UK. The author is Conrad Riker.
Right.
And let's be clear, this isn't your typical self-help guide. Riker offers a very, very direct perspective. No sugarcoating here.
Not at all. I mean, right from the preface, he sets the tone. He calls the modern UK a, quote, minefield for men with standards. Yeah, he basically argues that societal changes have made finding a loyal partner, his term, much harder for men. And he says the book is meant to be a roadmap through the wreckage.
Roadmap through the wreckage.
Some words.
Okay, before we get stuck in, if you find this kind of deep dive useful, do us a favor, like and subscribe. It helps us bring you more content like this.
Definitely helps.
And you can find The Vanishing Good Woman right now on Amazon Kindle and Google Playbooks. Plus, Conrad Riker is on Substack. You can follow him at Conrad Riker.
Good to know.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's dive into some of the book's most, well, striking arguments.
That's good. So Riker's main thesis, his big argument, is that modern institutions, law, education, the lot, and these societal trends.
She links to specific ideologies.
Exactly. He explicitly points the finger at what he identifies as feminist and Marxist influence. He argues these have completely changed the game for relationships and family.
Not for the better, in his view.
Not for men seeking traditional setups, no. He argues it's often detrimental to them.
And he's very clear about who he's writing for, isn't he? He sort of calls people out.
Oh, yeah. He says right up front, this book isn't for guys who are, and I'm quoting again, content swiping on Tinder zombies or willing to bend the knee to a culture that treats masculinity like a mental disorder. He says it's for a man who wants a wife, not a roommate with a body count. Very direct.
Very. So society's changed, institutions have changed. But what about biology?
That's key for Riker. He insists biology hasn't changed. He believes families still thrive best under patriarchy. That's his stance.
And he uses anecdotes to back this up.
Yes, he mentions friends he claims got cleaned out by gold diggers or caught STIs or were treated like ATMs by courts that hate testosterone. He presents these not as odd cases, but as pattern recognition, evidence of a bigger problem.
Okay, so let's get into those biological realities he emphasized. Female fertility seems like a big one for him.
Huge. Chapters like the extinction of loyal wives and career women, empty cradles, full coffers really hammer this home.
What are the specific claims?
Well, he cites ONS data from 2022, claiming female fertility drops sharply like 30% by age 30 and halves by 35.
Halves by 35.
According to the data he cites, yes. And he really goes after universities, names leads universities specifically for, in his words, peddling the biological clock is a patriarchal construct fairy tale.
So he thinks women are being misled about...
That's his argument. He claims, again, using ONS 2022 figures, that 70% of women who delay kids past 35 for their careers end up childless.
70%. That seems incredibly high.
It's the figure he presents. He uses an anecdote, quite a sad one actually, about a 42-year-old barrister who apparently said she'd trade her BMW for one viable egg. And he also cites a British social attitude survey claiming 89% of childless women over 45 regret it.
He also has this section on pets, doesn't he? The fur baby idea.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, it's quite controversial. He points to the massive UK pet industry, 10 billion, he says.
Okay.
Then he brings in research, apparently from Oxford brain experts, showing women holding pets get oxytocin surges similar to mothers feeding babies. He even mentions studies suggesting dogs trigger more dopamine in women's brains than romantic partners, 23% more, he claimed, and gives an example of his neighbor ditching her ovulation tracker for a French bulldog.
So his point is, women are substituting pets for children.
That seems to be his implication. He even offers this very blunt pre-date screening question. Would you quit your job if our toddler had leukemia?
Whoa.
He says it's a way to sort out the keepers from cat lady. And he connects all of this directly back to feminism, claiming it wiped out grandma's future family.
Okay, let's shift to the dating scene itself. Riker sees a lot of danger there for men, right?
Right.
Especially around health and trust.
Absolutely. Chapter 2, STIS, The Silent Betrayal, is pretty stark. He calls modern dating a biological minefield.
Strong language again. What's the basis for that?
He cites NHS reports, for example, saying 80% of women with chlamydia are asymptomatic, so they might not even know they have it.
80%.
That's the figure he uses. He also points to Tinder's 2023 data, claiming 60% of users ditch condoms for spontaneity.
Not great.
He also brings up what he terms the dick pic paradox, Says 70% of women claim to hate unsolicited nudes.
Right.
But then he claims 45% still end up sleeping with the guys who send them. It's presented as a sort of hypocrisy.
And he uses personal stories here, too.
He does. There's an anecdote about a guy in Bristol, James Smith, doing a hinge experiment. Apparently, 24 out of 200 matches admitted to recent unprotected sex. He talks about the Gen Z hashtag raw dogging trend online, says it has 10 million views, and links it directly to consequences like infertility from chlamydia, claiming it scars fallopian tubes in 1 in 5 infected women.
So real health risk. What about the trust aspect?
Yeah, he tells a story about a man named James Thompson who apparently contracted HPV from his fiancée after her trip to Vegas.
Ouch.
And he cites a 2023 study, supposedly from the Journal of Male Psychology, finding 65% of men develop chronic trust issues after finding out about a partner's undisclosed STI history.
That makes sense. He also mentioned something about slut shaming.
Yes, it's quite a controversial point. He references a 2017 BMJ study and interprets it as claiming men who actively avoid what he calls slut shaming are actually 3 times more likely to get an STI. He uses an example of Dave from Sheffield.
So, his advice, his survival tips.
Pretty blunt. Demand test results up front. He even throws in a clearly made-up stat. It's made up about women with 3 or more cats having lower STI rates, probably for effect.
Okay.
But his serious advice is, avoid Tinder bios with terms like poly, kink-friendly, or sex-positive. He sees those as red flags.
And the sperm freezing.
Yeah, he presents that as a critical strategy, freezing sperm to protect your lineage, as he puts it, a sort of biological insurance policy.
Okay, so beyond dating, Riker argues that the bigger picture, the institutions themselves, are biased against men, that they've been captured.
That's a huge part of his argument, yes. Across several chapters, he lays out how he thinks the legal system, education, even the church and welfare state are fundamentally working against men's interests now.
Let's break that down. What about the legal system? Abortion, divorce.
On abortion, he focuses on male powerlessness. He highlights cases where men are, legally on the hook financially for kids, but have zero say in stopping an abortion.
Examples.
He mentions a London banker whose wife apparently had 3 secret abortions, and an engineer in Sheffield who divorced his wife after she aborted twins, allegedly for her career. He cites a 2022 survey from something called the Male Mind Project, claiming 41% of men feel powerless rage after a partner's abortion.
The church.
He claims the Church of England is gaslighting men, points to Canterbury Cathedral raising funds for BPAS, the abortion provider, and a Leeds vicar praising abortion access. As an alternative, he suggests things like traditional dating apps like St. Raphael's Match.
Okay, and divorce. He was pretty scathing there.
Extremely. Calls London courts the Emirates Stadium of gold digging. References a Financial Times piece calling England the Dubai of divorce.
Strong imagery.
He gives an example of an entrepreneur, Dave, supposedly losing 60% of his startup value to pay for his wife's emotional labor. Mentions Paul McCartney's high-profile divorce payout, too.
And the no-fault divorce laws.
He calls the 2020 UK reforms state-sanctioned loot drops. Claims, citing ONS data, that women initiate 80% of divorces and pocket 90% of spousal support awards.
What about child custody?
Another area where he claims bias says mothers win 85% of cases based on, quote, Flintstones-era logic. Claims Ministry of Justice reports show maternal instincts cited 12 times more often than paternal capability. Tells a story about a Bristol dad allegedly jailed just for sending birthday cards.
Wow. Okay, moving from law to education. He uses the term woke gynocracy.
Yes. He details things like 5-year-olds in Brighton designing non-binary flags and schools mandating LGBTQ plus topics while, he claims, banning Christian parent groups.
And the solution he sees.
He notes homeschooling registrations tripled in London since 2020. Points to alternatives popping up like trad school co-ops and granny academies teaching traditional subjects in, unconventional ways, algebra via cannonball trajectories, that sort of thing.
Right. What about single mothers and the welfare state?
He frames welfare as state-sponsored sabotage. Cites a Birmingham mother supposedly saying she'd need a man earning 30 pay just to match her benefits package.
So arguing it disincentivizes partnership.
That's the implication. He also cites Met Police data suggesting 85% of UK gang members grew up without their biological father. His proposed solution: mandatory paternity tests at birth and men actively filtering out single mothers when dating.
And finally, consent culture. He calls it lies.
Yeah, another really contentious chapter. He claims, citing The Guardian, that 10% of UK Tag Me Too accusations were provably false. Highlights that UK law grants accusers lifelong anonymity while the accused are often named publicly.
His advice for men in that climate.
Very defensive. Record every interaction, possibly with a spy pen. Treat all tech platforms, even things like Strava, like it's run by your ex's divorce lawyer because data can be used in court.
So it's a bleak picture he paints.
No.
But he does offer solutions, these red-pilled strategies.
Yes, he doesn't just diagnose, he prescribes. Several chapters focus on what men should do, things like rejecting the toxic masculinity narrative.
How did he frame that?
He cites an anecdote of a Manchester dad fined for calling his son soft, brings up a 2022 Journal of Endocrinology study supposedly showing testosterone reduces public emotional displays, arguing stoicism is like armor. He advocates for men creating dad dungeons, man caves, essentially, and focusing on physical strength.
So a return to traditional masculinity, as he defines it.
Pretty much. Then there's hypergamy, the idea women date up. He cites Oxford researchers claiming 83% of young British women would rather share a high-status man than commit to a loyal beta.
And the advice based on that.
Grind harder, build skill, wealth, discipline. He argues women are biologically wired differently regarding attraction versus provider potential.
He also talks about simps and cucks.
Those are terms from that online sphere. He defines simps as men who are basically human cash machines for women who don't respect them. His examples of guys funding girlfriends' lifestyles or OnlyFans accounts only to get dumped.
OnlyFans comes up again.
Yes. He cites a source called LeakSource from 2023, claiming 1 in 5 OnlyFans subscribers are actually the boyfriends or husbands of the creators.
Riker's solution to simping.
A no pay, no play rule. Walk away if OnlyFans is mentioned. Invest in yourself instead. Crypto, stocks, maybe MMA training, self-improvement over funding someone else.
And then there's the really radical stuff about rebuilding patriarchy in marriage.
Absolutely. He advocates for things like masculine marriage contracts, even renewable 5-year marriage warranties, shielding assets via offshore trusts. He mentions Belize, Isle of Man
Marriage warranties. Wow. Any other options?
He suggests marrying abroad, like in the Philippines, where divorce is illegal, or even opting out completely via MGTOW men going their own way, essentially disengaging from women in marriage. His core message is leadership, not equality, in relationships.
Okay, and this beta bucks, alpha fucks idea.
It's his theory of a dual mating strategy. He argues women use reliable beta men for resources, bankrolling brunch dates while sexually pursuing riskier alpha types, the tattooed alphas.
And the evidence he offers.
He cites research suggesting women with 10-plus partners struggle with long-term bonding, and DNA tests showing, he claims, 1 in 25 British men are unknowingly raising another man's child. His advice is avoid women he deems damaged goods and be strategic about finding a fertile partner, like a job hunt.
So how does he wrap it all up? What's the final call to action?
It culminates in this idea of a marriage strike. Men should fight back, he argues, by rejecting traditional marriage.
Rejecting it entirely.
Or replacing it. Opting for strict cohabitation agreements instead, freezing sperm as insurance, and focusing heavily on self-investment. He points to the rapid growth of UK men's rights groups, claims 300% growth last year, as evidence that this sentiment is already gaining traction.
Well, that was certainly an incisive and, fascinating deep dive into Conrad Riker's arguments in The Vanishing Good Woman. It's definitely presented as a kind of guidebook for men navigating what he sees as a hostile modern landscape.
It really is. And ultimately, the book presents readers with what the author frames as a stark choice, doesn't it? Either you adapt to what Riker calls this rigged system, or you actively try to, in his words, rebuild patriarchy. He really pushes readers to think about the long-term impact of their choices on future generations, according to his perspective.
Definitely leaves you with a lot to think about, regardless of where you stand. Okay, one last reminder, please do like and subscribe to the deep dive if you want more shortcuts to getting well informed.
Yep, helps us out a lot.
And you can grab The Vanishing Good Woman by Conrad Riker on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books. Remember to follow the author on Substack too, at Conrad Riker.
Check it out if it sounds interesting.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.